No worries.
Sarah, nice to see you. So I thought you were gone. Sarah, can we see you? Just wave to you and say hi. Just nice
Hello.
to see you, Sarah. Hi. Okay,
Hi.
well, in no particular order, Sally, would you like to kick us off and then we'll go to you, Sarah?
Yeah, sure. Let me just get this
Wonderful.
up.
Okay, Sarah, over to you. Sally, sorry.
Oh,
Over to you, Sally. All
okay.
good. Enjoy.
Oh, okay. Hello everyone. My name is Sally, and today I'll be talking about my project, cultivation. Through cultivation, I'll be investigating how a place can cultivate connections and feelings of community and purpose at the Carriage Works site in Everleigh. So let's start off with planting a few seeds of thought. Through research and discussion with people who are afflicted with mental illness, depression, and anxiety, there are seeds of negativity that grow in the mind if left unchecked, but they can be cultivated to create a sense of comfort instead. The need to fill a void can be curbed through gardening, planting, and ecotherapy. The energy to see each day can be gained through cooking healthier food and creating with other people from different cultures around the world. And the desire to find a place in the world can be found through reaching out to another in a positive and nurturing environment. From these three seeds, there is potential for the Carriage Works site to grow into something bigger. The land that is behind the existing clothing store building on the western end of the site has the potential for new use, as it's currently unbuilt. These three seeds of comfort bring to mind three spaces: a community greenhouse and a hydroponic centre for cultivation, a restaurant and community-run kitchen for bringing people together, and an animal shed and paddocks to nurture and care for another living creature. These three spaces come together to form a place of greenery and creation. And through a journey into these spaces, we can experience how all these three parts work together to sustain this new urban farm and cultivation hub in the middle of dense urban city. So, Tori comes every weekend to the urban farm to see how her plot of strawberries is growing. Because it's Saturday, the farmers' markets have brought a lot of people into the site. It's nice to see where the produce that is being sold at the farmers' markets is mainly grown. She turns to the left and heads over there. In the greenhouse, the large planters are being tended to by a lot of people she knows who live in the neighbouring apartment building, as well as some workers who are harvesting ripe vegetables and fruit from the hydroponic shelves in the middle for the kitchen. The smell of freshly watered leaves and the touch of the soil on her hands gives her a sense of comfort to start the day. After checking her strawberries aren't quite ripe enough to harvest yet, Tori wonders if the flowers on the rooftop garden of the restaurant also need watering, but not before she has lunch. She heads over there. On the rooftop gardens, Tori speaks to the beekeeper and is given a little sneak peek at the amount of honey the bees made during the week. The honey apparently tastes different from a rural farm's beehive, since it is being harvested in an urban city setting. She promises to try it later. Before leaving, Tori decides to go have a look at the animals, but is distracted by a duck and her ducklings waddling through the fountain in the plaza. There's a class being taught at the moment in the petting farm, but someone had accidentally left the gate open, so they're trying to round up the escaped chickens. After dodging the chickens safely, Tori goes over to see the piglets and lambs. The goats also try to jump the fence at the sight of her handful of oats, but she manages to feed them before that happens, without getting her hand bitten this week. Through this journey on the site, the urban farm and centre of cultivation at Carriage Works is revealed to be a space in which many types of creation and production can occur, providing a green space and community hub within Sydney's dense urban context, with spaces which support and sustain one another. The greenhouse and hydroponic spaces, made of glass, steel and warm timber interiors, contains both public and private planters to allow not only community involvement in growing on the site, but also helps provide for the farmers' markets, as well as provides for ingredients for the restaurants to use. There are also rooms for man-made indoor rice paddies, as well as aquaponics where fish are being raised on site. The 3-story restaurant and kitchens provide community cooking and learning on the ground level, meeting rooms and a sunroom on the first level, which look down onto the eating space below, and a rooftop flower garden. The flower garden provides a space in which people can come and learn to tend to the outdoor plants, as well as provide flowers for sale at the farmers' markets and beyond the site. The beehives there are also located on the rooftop garden and can form part of an existing network of honey sellers that already exist around the city, called the Urban Beehive Collective. The restaurant is the center point for which all the surrounding spaces and functions work together. Vegetables and fruit are produced in the greenhouse, as well as eggs and meat from the animal sheds, and on-site ingredients which supply the kitchens. From the entry, its facade can open up and close and greet visitors at the entry plaza and invite them into the site or around to the other spaces. The first level's glass doors are operable via crank and rotate outwards to open up the building to natural ventilation, light, and movement through an active site. Finally, the animal sheds also provide learning spaces for people of all ages to come and look after and learn about. Animals such as goats, chickens, ducks, pigs, and lambs can be taken care of, and allows for animal therapy as well as the help to weekly farmer markets and the kitchens. Eggs, goats, milk products, and meat can also be supplied to the farmers markets and beyond. Now, going back to that first seed of thought that we planted at the very beginning of this presentation. By the end, all of these parts, activities and functions, cultivated and nurtured alongside one another, has grown into something bigger. The urban farm not only sustains the carriage-works sites, but can also grow beyond the site, creating purpose, connections, and community ties as if it were a living thing in itself. Thank you.
Well done. Well, I think anyone who tells the story of chickens and ducklings and running away and everything in a presentation gets a great big cheer. You really brought it tonight, so let's hear from the guests what they think. Kimmy, would you care to kick us off?
Yeah. Also, congrats, Sally. I like the way you tell the story. The storytelling is very impressive. Through the drawings and each using one person, two people's experience in these sites and tell the whole story of one day experience is fantastic. It's like bring the life and humanity and bring people together into this site. And all the drawings, colorful, beautiful watercolor drawings, and really evocative and bring kind of enhance this idea further. I like the way you the animals, the ideas of having animals, the chickens and pigs, goats running through the site. It's very exciting and surprise the idea. I like to go to the place and it's very magical and romantic way. I engage people through these gardening, very basic stuff, gardening, plantation, and feeding animals and running with these animals with kids. The whole idea is good. So, and also the section is very impressive. Tell a story directly to me, what the building looks like and how does this building connect back to your story. And congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes, nicely put. In no particular order, Alan?
Yes, a great story. And I do like the site plan. I like the organisation of the buildings in 3 distinct blocks with walkways, maybe even vehicles between them. The idea could be staged, the idea that it could have 3 different hands, the idea that the architecture is based around simple things that can be well designed but not extravagant. I liked all that. I wanted to explore with you this thought that I had that did give me some reason to reflect on what you're doing, and that is in the middle of the restaurant. On the one side you have the vegetables, and on the other side, the way I understood it, you have the farmed animals for food, and so that's that's a pretty strong statement for a person like me who believes that one of humans' beings' greatest injustice or social injustice is to other sentient beings or to other living beings. So I just wondered whether you'd consider making the slaughtering process as well transparent, because that would really bring people to focus on what we do to animals. That was my question to you.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had been thinking about that process. I at the very beginning, during my early designs, I had just thought of something like a petting zoo or something where a lot of students and teachers could just kind of come and teach kids on how, like how to care for animals, or it's kind of like, oh, this is how the food is produced. But then, yeah, that's a very good point, because it kind of, how it fit in the scheme of things was this idea of you would like through animal therapy as well. So one of the precedences that I had a look at was this therapy farm in Israel, where they basically had a lot of people with trauma looking after farm animals, but the final intention was to have these animals eventually put down and things like that. So I think that is one point of investigation that I should have dug a little bit deeper into, which I fully agree, because it's a main part of the story that I've been telling as well.
Okay.
Wow, that's a super powerful point. I never really occurred to me, but to say that what a statement that would be. That's really, if we were continuing the studio to really think about that. It's powerful.
Maybe one last point about that, and when you delve into caring for country, they also care for all living beings, which is not necessarily that you don't eat them, but they care for them. So I'm not suggesting that you can't kill animals, but even though I personally don't agree with it, but I am suggesting it's a very interesting way to start educating people about our cruelty to other things. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Thank you.
And interestingly, again, in previous years, when people have looked at urban farming schemes, it's always been a bit of a romantic kind of whimsical kind of proposition. But now, if communities are shrinking and if borders are closing, then self-sufficiency is a much more pressing kind of concern. And thinking about how a community looks after or caters for all its needs within its boundaries, and how it takes on that challenge and addresses the challenge of doing that is a much more practical and pragmatic proposition to work through. And then to see how you would develop that kind of facility, on the edge of the tracks, and in that kind of the liminal space between the suburb and the transport corridor, to say, here's a new production kind of corridor that we've got to develop. It's a really valuable kind of program to unearth and explore. And isn't it? It's all the more wonderful that the connection to nature and growing things and being responsible for growing things nurtures people as much as it does the plant environment. So lovely program to explore, Sally, and great comments, Alec, about confronting people with consuming animals.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sally, just fabulous. What a great scheme. I mean, you hit the brief bang on early days about a place that's a place for enjoyment and relaxing, and as with every scheme we've seen, actually, no one's sort of head-on designed a mental facility, and if someone did that, that would have been fine, by the way. But everyone has taken it sideways on for a very good reason, as you have done also, and it's worked really well. Now, I recall various versions of your scheme of different combinations of movements and things. And I say this as a compliment, by the way, that you explored that. You just didn't do that. You explored different things, and I could almost draw the central planning of that middle building based where you used to have the restaurant to the side and the kitchen small, then you made it big and all these different things. And you really explored that stuff, and it's a compliment to you that you did that. And you've arrived at something simple that's, as you know, not simplistic or means it's not sophisticated, but you arrived at a very simple form, which Alec noted, the three things, which means it works. It's got a space. I'd love to arrive there. I said it to you every time we talk this with Sage, and you see the horses sticking their heads over or whatever, and then immediately you get an ice cream and you walk around and you go in there and you do this and that, and you can't get there in the UK. So it's a great architecture because it's a very thoughtful, about people approach, which is really nice and has that modesty angle we've been talking today. Actually, that's a new word on me. That idea, meaning bold and strong, to be modest. And I think a compliment to you that you've done that. But Sally, reflections from you, as we've asked everybody on any of the comments made, or the process, or anything at all.
Yeah,
Final word for you. That's the point.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you so much for a great term, David, and also thank you so much to all our guest crits. Yeah, Alec, thank you so much also for your insight. I know it's always been at the back of my mind, but I think I was almost too kind of hesitant to address that. But I think it's if we had another term, I would have refined that part of it.
I like the way the studio runs. It delves into things deeply, and like everybody else, you've delved into it deeply, and I think it's great.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great. Well done, Sally. It was a gift to draw those animals. So
it really was. They were fun. Very fun.
So well done on that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sally. And Sarah, over to you, please.
Hi.
Hi, Sarah.